hello, and thank you for tuning into our series. We are so really grateful because we have two people who have returned um, because they're so knowledgeable and we enjoyed them very much the last time they spoke. So tonight we are going to be addressing inflammation and pain and how to deal with these things in a way that helps you to become healthier, not just getting rid of the pain or masking the pain, but in a natural way. And what I'd like to say for just a moment about inflammation is that not all inflammation is bad. The inflammatory process in its mildest form is actually a really good incentive for your body's immune system to stay alert. And it's kind of like sending the soldiers out on reconnaissance to keep their skills sharp. So it is a benefit to your body to have a certain amount of inflammatory response occurring. However, when that gets to the point where it is debilitating and painful, then we need to step in. And we want to use as many natural ways of not only modulating that, but of actually bringing the entire immune system up to a better functioning. That means overall general better health. And I believe the two speakers we have on tonight are going to do a fantastic job of bringing us through this information. And you're going to come away with some new ideas. And we are very interested in having your questions. So I think we should begin.
So first up, we have Melanie Norman of Red Dragon Consulting Group. Melanie is the CEO of Red Dragon. She's the co-founder of Academy of Healing Nutrition, Nova Institute, and Black Canyon Inn, and she taught at the National Gourmet Institute for Health and Culinary Arts for 20 years. Melanie, floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Karin, for inviting me. It's nice to be here again. Lovely to see all of you. So I come from the viewpoint of traditional Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese dietary therapy, the 5 elements, which I taught for about 35 years. So food healing and traditional Chinese dietary therapy, TCM. So then the late 90s, I got started to I became certified in 2 schools of classical feng shui, and then Bazi, and which is Chinese astrology, date selection, and something else called Jimen Dunjia. So this is under the umbrella of Chinese medicine, believe it or not, because actually in ancient times, doctors did look at the person's Bazi. That's what it's called, Bazi. I say Bazi, I have the Western accent to it, but please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. So it's another name for it is called the 4 Pillars of Destiny. And that's based on the year, month, day, and hour that you're born and where you're born. And as I was doing my nutritional counseling at that time, and I started learning about Bazi, and I started noticing the connection between people's Bazi, look at their Bazi, and then health. So the 5 elements that I'm going to be discussing probably 2 of the main elements today, right now. There's a reason for that. But the 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And another thing I wanted to mention, and in Chinese metaphysics and classical feng shui, they have an understanding of cycles, and cycles go in 180-year cycles broken down to 20 years each of 9 periods. And each period has a different type of qi or energy to it. And we have just left period 8, and we have entered period 9, which is the Li trigram of fire, and it is the last period of a 180-year cycle. So it is quite an amazing time to be alive. And the period 8, that was from 2004 to 2024. So technically, we arrived at period 9 on February 4th, 2024. However, we've already been feeling this change since 2017, and especially since December 2019. And look what happened to the world in 2020. So the period 8 was associated with the mountain trigram, which was associated with stability, and it was associated with the younger man. Look at how many young men rose in stature throughout the past 20 years. And the companies that, you see Google, you see Facebook, you see Tesla, etc. So it was associated with climbing the corporate ladder, it was associated with stability because it was associated with the mountain chi, and it was associated with materialism. So now we're leaving that going into period 9. What is fire? Fire is fast, fire is changeable, fire is volatile, fire is about AI, and we're seeing quantum leaps in AI. I know I'm getting to the detox, so give me a second because I'm giving you a little background here, okay? I'll get there. And so it's interesting. I just heard the other day that ChatGPT 4.0 had the IQ of 1600. 1600. I think the person that has the highest IQ is 2 something. I mean, now AI is teaching AI. So that's one of the things. Also, another trend you're starting to see is this is about what we call the middle-aged woman, because this is associated the Lee trigram with the middle daughter. And this is about the woman who has had so she's had experience in life, but hopefully as well she's had wisdom. She's probably, she could have raised a family, had children, started her own business, etc. So she's been through some life experiences. This is associated with beauty, is associated with being your authentic self. More than ever, if you're not your authentic self, you'll be found out. Okay, so let's talk about detox and why I bring this up, because this is associated with the fire, okay? Fire element, fire, which is the Lee trigram. It's a period of fire. In the 5 elements, you can put everything in the world into each element, okay? From the organ systems to the time of year, the time of day, to the industries associated with it, to the colors, to the taste, to the emotions, to the body parts, etc. Okay, so now we are for 20 years, we are in the period of, we have just entered the period of fire. Ironically enough, right now, we are in June, and June is what we call the prospering chi of fire. So fire is associated with the heart, the small intestine, the blood, the heating and cooling system. Now, in Chinese metaphysics, it's associated with the eyes as well. Okay, in traditional Chinese medicine, when we're looking at the eyes, as far as the health of the eyes, we look at the health of the liver and more the wood element. But you're looking in traditional Chinese medicine, you're looking at what they call the shen, or the spirit of the person. So if you look at a person and their eyes are like dull, right? They've glassed over, so we say their shen has been harmed. Back to Chinese metaphysics, eyes are associated with the fire Lee trigram. That's just the way it is. Why they this is when I started studying this, I'm like, wait a minute, why, the eyes are the liver. Why are they the fire element? Anyway, so that's just the contradictions of life. So that's number 1. So we're going to look at, because heart disease is what isn't it number 1, Karen? I think it's number 1. There's heart disease, cancer, and iatrogenic disease. Those are the top 3 diseases that we're facing today in our world. And you're starting to see more and more heart issues. And so talking about inflammation, right, with the heart. And then also, more than ever right now, is to protect your eyes. So we'll get to that in a minute. So what's the taste that will help when there's what's inflammation in Chinese medicine? It's heat. It's usually heat will cause inflammation. So you can look actually at a Basi chart. If the chart is hot, that means that there's a lot of wood and fire in the Basi chart. There's often more inflammation, and especially if the fire is not beneficial to that person, they could definitely have more heart issues. They could have palpitations, they could have anxiety, uh, you know, uh, and the emotion could even go from agitation to hate, actually, because the positive emotion associated with the fire element is joy and passion. So what's the taste that helps to alleviate you want it when it's too hot? And now, because we are in the prospering chi of fire, the season of fire, it's very easy to get too hot. So we want to cool the body. Uh, so we want to give cooling foods, cool the heat. And we also want it bitter flavor is one of the flavors associated with helping the heart and dealing with inflammation. Uh, what are other foods like bitter greens, right? It's probably the taste we like the least of bitter. We like sweet and salty. Bitter's not our favorite at all. However, bitter greens, bitter herbs, so like bitter greens like broccoli rabe is a bitter green. Green tea, because green tea actually is cooling, but where coffee is warming. Okay, so if you have a lot of heat and you go and drink coffee, sometimes you're actually going to get heart palpitations, or you can actually feel your heart. So it is better to drink green tea because it's more cooling. Mung beans are cooling. Let's see, beets. Beets actually are beneficial for the liver, but also beneficial for the heart. Why? Because they clean the blood, they build the blood, and they're good because red also is beneficial for the heart, like red food. So dates, mulberries, cherries, cucumber, and we're coming into the season of certainly of all the beautiful fresh produce, at least here in the Western Hemisphere. I have to do say that because I have a lot of clients now in the Southern Hemisphere, and they're like, wait a minute, how can we go in the prospering chi of fire? We're going in the winter, or we're going in the summer, so it makes sense here. So it's a little more difficult for them. But I'm talking about the chi. It's about the chi. It's not about the weather, right? It's about the chi. It's the energy. Think of fire. Fire's upward and outward, so easily it can cause inflammation. Now, another thing, turmeric. Turmeric can be excellent. You do a turmeric and ginger drink because turmeric is antibacterial, antifungal, anti-inflammatory. However, with ginger, ginger is more warming. So if you're too hot, it's better to use mint. Okay. Now, another thing I do want to say that, well, actually, one of the things I find very, very important is to actually eat wild fish or beef. And if you're going to eat beef, you want to make sure it is grass-fed. Why? Because it has conjugated linoleic acid, that's CLA. And that is very beneficial to the heart and can actually reduce the inflammation. It is actually the factory farm animals that we are consuming today and all the fake foods, that's what's causing the inflammation. And I know there's a whole discussion about whether I should eat meat or not eat meat, but believe me, traditional Chinese medicine, they actually, to heal the organ of the human, they actually use the organ of the animal. So the organ of the animal heals the organ of the human. So again, you would eat heart to help heal your heart. You would eat liver to help heal your liver. Now I know, oh my God, you can't believe she said that. Yes, but make sure, obviously, the animal is grass fed, organic, local, pasture raised. Okay, so that's huge. Okay, now another organ system I want to talk about is the lung and large intestine. Why? Because this month is what we call the metal horse month. Okay, so just like you have a Basi chart, so does the month, so does the year. So we're in the year of the wood dragon year. So anyone who has a dog in their chart, they're probably having a more difficult time this year, especially in April. I bet it was quite volatile for you, and do be careful in October. And also for the dragon as well, they've got the self-penalty, but that's another issue. So now, why did I say that we're going to look at the lung and large intestine? Because this is a metal horse month, and in the there's the production cycle, there's the control cycle, the 5 elements, fire melts metal. Okay, so metal is the lung and the large intestine and the skin. So fire melts the metal, and that could mean that you could see more lung issues, you could see more coughs, you could see more colds, you could see more inflammation in the lungs this month. What do you do? Now you have to even break it down further. You have to look, okay, well, is the cough dry? Is it damp? So if it is more damp, okay, let's see. You could use ginger and garlic. That's very good. So like a ginger tea, ginger lemon tea. So that's good for helping to expectorate and reduce inflammation. You can use oats, but oats are more moistening. If you have a damp condition, okay, if you have a damp condition, don't use oats. I'm sorry, if you have a dry condition, you can use oats because oats are more moistening and more damp producing. So you could use rice, like a rice soup. There's something called congee, and that's a very popular breakfast dish in Asia. And so you can make a congee with, say, ginger and garlic slices. Now, another thing, if you have more of a dry cough, it's recommended, say, dry and hot. You could use a mint tea, but you also can use cooked pears, believe it or not. Pears moisten the dryness. Also, in general, just if there is, instead of dry, if there is more mucus, because I do want to mention these foods as well. Daikon is excellent. So you can put daikon in a soup, or another expectorant that's very good for reducing, say, the buildup of dampness and inflammation in the lungs is horseradish. So you actually just grate fresh horseradish, add some lemon juice, and just eat that. It's actually quite good. Or you can put that in some soup. Turnip, radish. So anything of the radish family, because the flavors of pungent and spicy is very beneficial for the lungs and the large intestine. So what's the emotion for the lung and large intestine? If it is working well. So another way you can, this is a very general overview of looking at the metal and the fire and the metal, because they're the fire is controlling. It's not a productive cycle, it's a controlling cycle. If you have too much metal in your Basi chart and the metal's too strong, then the fire's beneficial. But if you don't have very much metal at all, probably shows a weakness in your lungs, then the fire can over control the metal, and you definitely can see more issues. Another favorite of one of mine for dry cough, for moistening, is raw honey. Raw honey is very good to moisten the dryness. Okay, so that's and then there's always chilies, cayenne, and cardamom as well to help with the lungs and large intestine. So again, so it's either, so the positive side is the ability to let go, and then on the negative side, when we hold on to things emotionally, like we can't let go of what's bothering us, what's holding us back. And by the way, that's another thing. We are about to enter into the summer solstice and the full moon, and that is called the height of the yang qi, and that's on this. I think it's on June 21st. So June 20th, 21st, depending upon where you are in the world. On June 22nd, we actually start to go into the yin qi, so that's your shadow side starting to come up. So what has been hidden, that's going to start to come up. So these are, don't forget, it's all connected: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Very insightful. Next up, we have Letitia Kepecz. of Fam Kitchen. Letitia is a plant-based chef and integrative nutrition health coach. Letitia is the owner and operator of Fam, which is a 100% vegan cafe in Sarasota, Florida. She's passionate about food and the benefits it provides for the human body. Letitia, floor is yours.
Hi there, and thank you so much for having me again. Such great information. And I think this topic is so important right now because, yes, heart disease is growing, depression, anxiety, dementia, all these diseases, and a lot of them can be prevented, but something as simple as coming back to your diet. Your grocery list is one of the biggest weapons that you have to fight your own inflammation, I believe. The gut, the health of the gut, there's a lot of talk about that these days. So when you think of the inflammation, yes, there's all the good inflammation. Your body is very smart. It's designed to heal itself. But with the way our environment is, with the way our SAD diet is, the standard American diet, our bodies are, there's a huge percentage of individuals fighting inflammation, and it's because of our daily choices that we make. So for me, I always come back to the food, whole food, plant-based diet. Yes, I run a vegan cafe. Vegan isn't always the answer, though. There's a lot of vegan that's unhealthy as well. So when you think of changing your world around and fighting inflammation, to focus on fiber. And where do you get fiber? You get it from a whole food, plant-based diet. Your fruits, your vegetables, your legumes. The first thing you can probably do, the easiest thing, people overthink the food issue a lot and they think it's super difficult, but look at what's in your cupboard and, throw out the stuff with the added sugars. The fruit sugar is not the problem, it's the added sugars. And if we're tired of reading labels, then buy food with no labels. Go and buy your vegetables. This time of the year, there's farmers markets everywhere. Well, maybe except here in Florida where it's a little too hot. But up north, this is when you can go to the farmers market and you buy your fresh produce, your local produce. If you can afford organic, buy organic. If you're a little bit tight on your budget, look at the Dirty Dozen, for instance, and it'll tell you on the organics, which, like maybe kale, maybe strawberries, those are good to invest if you can afford a little bit of organic. If you can't, as long as you eat more vegetables, that's what's important here. Food that you want to add is the tea, very, very good. Fermented food, the sauerkrauts, the kimchi. It's really good for the gut health. A lot of inflammation can be combated right in the gut. There's been so much research lately that's been done on the gut as well. And the only way to heal the gut in order for it to fight inflammation is to add fiber. But also, don't eat kale every day. You got to eat a variety. You got to eat the rainbow. Make sure it's colorful. Make sure you eat lots of different vegetables. Just eating one kind all the time, it's good. Sure, you get your fiber, but let's remember to eat the rainbow. Aside from the diet, there's always the exercise, your sleep quality, fresh air. The body needs lots of different sources of food, I guess, because the sleep, that also feeds you. Your stress levels, these are very important. Get your exercise. Mediterranean diet, also a very hot topic, but it's not really a diet. It's a lifestyle that you need to embrace. It's a way of living. The word diet just, there's so many stigmas to it, that if people just do little changes every day and incorporate these healthy fats, the fruits, the vegetables, the legumes into your diet, you'll see life gets better. Your inflammation can really be affected by it. So first things, no fried food, no sugar, stay away from the processed food, buy food with labels, whole food, plant-based diet. The fasting, our ancestors, they didn't eat all the time like we do. Like, I don't know, we're programmed here. You gotta have breakfast, you gotta have a snack, you gotta have lunch, you gotta have another snack, then you gotta have dinner. That's a lot of food for your body to process. And you never get a moment for your gut to just, take a breather. So intermittent fasting is really important here because it kind of resets your whole system. It gives it a little break. So for instance, if you stop eating at 6 o'clock in the evening and then you only start eating at 10 in the morning again, you're really giving your body a chance to reset. You get your intestines, your gut, a little break to do what it really needs to do. We also have too much medication in our daily usage. A lot of people are, on some sort of a medicine or take the Tylenol or whatever, and that can also cause inflammation in the end. So I think that we need to move away from the medicine cabinet and try the natural healing through lifestyle choices, through food, through your grocery list. And yeah, we are going into the fire, and inflammation is fire in the body. So with the fiber, you can actually fight the fire. There's so much research that's out there. We all know that the American diet is not the way to go, but it's very simple to do these changes in your diet. Turmeric is excellent, ginger, cayenne pepper. Another big culprit is, of course, salt. We have way too much salt in our diet. And this with heart disease, cholesterol, everything. Salt is really not a good thing for you. And a simple way of cutting down on salt is, instead of having a salt shaker on your dining room table, make a little mix. Put a little garlic powder, a little cayenne pepper, put a little oregano in there and shake that over your food. And just that flavor will make it pop, and you won't even miss the salt. Add a little vinegar. Vinegar is really good. Get your little apple cider vinegar and put that on your food instead of salt. And these are great ways to kind of reduce your salt intake. Again, inflammation, there's different forms. It can show up anywhere in the body. It can be, a little arthritis. It could be in your bowel. It could be chronic headaches. There's so many forms of inflammation, but it all comes back to the gut. And I believe the fiber in your diet. And the only way to increase the fiber is with a plant-based diet. Now, I'm not saying don't have the meat. Fish, I am vegan, yes, but there are healthy options out there, but it should be minimal and it should be balanced. You shouldn't be having red meat every day because it really isn't good for the inflammation and the cholesterol. So I think if we look at our ancestors, if we look at where we are today and where we need to go, a plant-based diet is definitely the future for inflammation, for so many diseases. And most diseases come from chronic inflammation. Things like memory loss. Sure, it's normal for when you age to have a little memory loss, but to the degree that we're experiencing now with dementia and with Alzheimer's, I think that our society has made it normal, but it's not. It's a form of inflammation. And we can combat this with food choices and lifestyle changes.
Thank you so much, Letitia. So now we're going to open the floor to any questions that anybody has. Live speakers, you can type them in the chat. In the meantime, I was actually very interested, and I took some notes. I was interested to hear that Melanie and Letitia, you two have differing opinions about meat and inflammation, and I'd like you two to discuss that, maybe perhaps debate it a little bit. I think that could be fun. So, state your cases for why you believe your viewpoint is right, and maybe we can come to some sort of agreement. Maybe not, who knows?
So, for me, the amount of fiber that you get, and fiber is the number one way of fighting inflammation with a whole food plant-based diet. If you compare the fiber from a plant-based diet to a meat, you can't even compare. So that's one huge thing. There's no fiber in a piece of steak. There's a lot of fiber in a head of broccoli. So that to me is huge. And then with heart disease and cholesterol, all these things, you don't get cholesterol in the plants. You get the cholesterol from the animals. So if these are things that you need to reduce in your body, the best way would be to follow a plant-based diet. Now, I'm not saying never to have your meat. And yes, I do agree. If you purchase meat, make sure that it is, organic, it's grass-fed. Make sure the source is at least a good source that you get it from. But for me, the main thing is the fiber and the cholesterol. And for that, I really would think a plant-based diet is the #1 way to go.
Okay.
Melanie? Shoot.
Where do I start? Okay. Let me just say a couple of things and then I'll get into. So first of all, I want to address the topic of salt. Okay, salt is extremely important in the body, and again, the issue is the quality that we have been using. So basically, most Americans, at least here in the West, they use a salt. What is it called? The lady with the umbrella, Morton salt, right? It's in the container, and they say it's so easy. It rains, it pours, or pours. It rains when it pours. So, and it also says contains iodine. Why does the salt contain iodine? Because they kiln dried it at high temperatures. All the minerals are removed, and then because they removed all the minerals, they had to put the minerals back. So first of all, don't touch that. Second of all, we need salt, and a good quality sea salt has 87 minerals or trace minerals. So like sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, your body needs minerals. I have, let's see, I've been on such a long journey through all the different diets that I actually did start on a macrobiotic diet. I would say probably 90% of it, 95%, I was vegan. And so I didn't eat eggs for like, I think it was 12, 13 years. I didn't eat meat. I think I had a little fish when I was pregnant. Thank God I did, now that I look back. So then certain issues, then I started experiencing health issues and also with some of my pregnancies. And so that's when I started to change and started to study. And so what I basically did, because I was teaching at the Natural Gourmet Institute of Health Culinary Arts, which was more vegetarian, vegan oriented. I'll never forget the article because so I played, and I ate no dairy, no sugar, no meat. No dairy, no sugar, no meat, no eggs. And so everything I replaced, so milk for soy milk, and I can't even remember now. So, like the almond milk for the milk, or the soy milk, or the soy oil, or the canola oil, right? The article, it came out in the late 90s by Sally Fallon and Mary Enig, Soy for Dairy Not So Fast. So this was based on the teachings of Weston Price and his research. And he was a dentist back in the 20s and 30s. And he started noticing more tooth decay, crooked teeth, and more degenerative illness in his patients. And he wanted to know why this was occurring. One of his colleagues suggested, well, I don't think they're chewing well enough. And he said, no, he didn't think that was correct. He traveled all over the world for 10 years studying people's teeth and their health with his wife. He went to very remote, isolated places, such as the Loschenthal Valley in Switzerland, that was very hard to get to. He went to the Maasai Indians in Africa, the Aborigines, the Eskimos, etc. He wrote a book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. And this is what he found when people they started to eat the modern industrialized diet. Now, back in the 20s and 30s, the list was very short, okay, compared to the list today. And he started to notice when they started to eat the modern industrialized diet of white sugar, white flour, that they had tooth decay, crooked teeth, and more degenerative illness. How many children today need braces? Why? Okay, because we are on the 3rd generation of modern industrialized foods. That's number one. And so what he found is when they ate their totally traditional indigenous diets, that they had no tooth decay. They had perfectly straight teeth. Even if they didn't brush their teeth for a long time, they had a wide palate, and not only they have physical health, they had mental and emotional health. They were happy people. So what was the criteria that he noticed? Now, so he went up in the Lowenthal Valley in Switzerland. They bypassed the milk, went directly to the cream, drank merely of the cream, and had no incidence of heart disease and cancer. He went to the Maasai Indians in Africa, where they drank, their food was milk, blood, and bones or stocks. He went to the Aborigines, and so to the Scottish hybrids. So a couple of the things he found that was that with all the different societies and people that he studied was
The common element.
What's that? Common element, right?
Yeah, you're looking for the commonality.
Right, common denominator. Thank you, the common denominator. So they had 10 times the amount of vitamin E that they have today in our diets. They have 4 times the minerals and trace minerals that we have in our diets today. The healthiest society was fish eating, second was meat, third was vegetarian. So if we're looking at a plant-based diet, okay, plant-based diet has beta carotene, right, in your orange vegetables, okay? However, true vitamin A is retinol. Many people cannot make the conversion from plant-based vitamin A, beta carotene, to retinol, such as pregnant women, children, and the elderly. Let's see, there is no vegan source of B12. There is no naturally occurring source of B12. Not in miso, not in tempeh. I'm not sure about natto. So those are all the plant-based foods, the proteins that I was teaching and feeding my children. My eldest son used to sneak butter, and I used to yell at him, and now I thank him. Okay, because I think so this whole cholesterol issue, it's a travesty, it's criminal, and what who was it? Was it Ansel Keys? I believe it was Ansel Keys. It was Eisenhower who had a heart attack, and Ansel Keys was connected to the cereal companies. And so what he said, that Eisenhower had a heart attack, I think it was because he ate meat. It was cholesterol. Okay, it was because he had cholesterol in his diet. It wasn't because of that at all. And he was connected to the cereal companies, so it was a whole coup. Cholesterol is a precursor to all the hormones working properly in the body. It is antioxidant, is anti-inflammatory. You want to talk about inflammatory? Cholesterol. And the issue with cholesterol, actually, it's like you blame the fire on the you blame the fire on the fireman? Is that so basically, like, you have the arterial walls, right? And they get like sticky. So people think that's the cholesterol. No, that's the omega-6 fatty acids, not the omega-3 fatty acids, which is another thing I wanted to bring up about inflammation. So all the seed oils, all the canola oil, the soy oil, the safflower oil, the sunflower oil, all these refined oils is contributing to a lot of inflammation, heart disease, cancer, diabetes today. So that's a very big one. A lot of the seed oils, and of course, okay, look at the eggs. So we've got the factory farm egg, and we've got the egg that comes from the farm that's pasture raised. There actually is a ratio in the factory farmed egg, it is 19 to 1, 19 times omega-6 to 1 omega-3. In the farm fresh pasture raised organic egg, it is 2 to 1. And that's what Weston Price discovered, is the ratio was 2 to 1. About 2 to 1, 2 to 1 is the ratio that traditional cultures had in a nutrient nourishing diet. We do not have nutrients in our food today. Okay, so it's so I think it's a travesty, and you really hit a button, a hot button here because
I can see that. And I see that you have, a lot of knowledge about the topic. But again, yes, the food isn't what it's supposed to be. The dirt isn't what it's supposed to be. But we're not the same as our ancestors. Those tribes in Africa, their whole way of living was different from how we live. We sit too much. We don't have the same stimulation, the nature, the camaraderie from family. There's so
I'm not
much that
denying
we're
that.
missing
I'm
out
not
on.
denying
So
that.
you can't think that you're just going to have a piece of steak because the ancestors, they were healthier that way. Life is so different now. And
There was no
besides
heart
that,
disease and cancer back in the
you
early
have to believe
early
in
1900s.
bio-individuality, though. Like my life is not the same as your life. So the studies, our bodies is a little chemistry of their own, and you need to do self-discovery for yourself. So what's going to work for me is not going to work for you, and what's
And
going to
that's why
work for you is not going to work for me.
That's why I
So for
use
me, my
Chinese
plant-based
medicine.
diet
Yeah.
works. For inflammation, higher fiber works. Where do you get higher fiber? From plants, not from animals.
I'm not denying about fiber, but I think
So we're talking about inflammation. What's going to fight inflammation? Fiber is going to
well, I
fight
know, and
inflammation.
okay.
So that's what the topic is.
Okay. Well, I know what the topic is, and I think butter and animal foods and animal fats actually fight inflammation. So we have a very different opinion, and that's
I think
okay.
we'll have to agree to disagree on this one.
All right, let's bring
Yeah,
it back. Let's bring it let's bring it back.
Hey, I know,
I
but
think
I've also
what I
been
got
doing
from this is that
for
there are
years.
two methods. There are two methods, and
Oh,
what Letitia was saying was about individuality. Some people will go with your method, Melanie, and some people will go with Letitia's.
not my method. It's not my method.
Well, there. I mean to say that there are two ways to go about it. Let's bring it back with a topic that I think everybody can agree with. There's
Can
such
I?
a thing as, yes, Karen, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sure. So one of the foundational things that both parties agree on that's not really being addressed and helps us to understand why there is such a diverse opinion on this. And Letitia touched upon this, and that is our bodies are very different today than they used to be. Mm-hmm. And it certainly goes back to this concept of we have lost the biodiversity in our gut, and we do not have the enzymes that our ancestors had that enable us to properly metabolize the food. And so if you don't
absorb,
you can't, it's not getting absorbed. So to get yourself in a place where your gut is healthier and you have a greater biodiversity will allow you then to bring in more of the meats and so forth. And it does, and you're in both in a little different age groups. And when I was in my 30s and 40s, I was, just like you, Melanie, I was very strict vegetarian, and not so much during my pregnancies, but afterward. And then as I got older, my body changed, and I really felt the need to go back to meat again. And interestingly, I once in a while will have bison. Beef just does not agree with me, but I know the farmer who raised the bison, and so I know that I'm safe in the bison that I eat, and fish, but it's what feels right for my body. Beef does not. It's very, it was when I was out of the country and having beef in Argentina, that beef was really good, but it was very different from the beef here. So
that's the beauty of Chinese medicine, which is that you treat the person, not the disease.
Exactly.
And maybe I should have made that more clear.
Yeah.
Look, are they damp? Are they dry? Are they hot? Are they cold? Are they blood and Qi deficient? So,
so this is what Letitia was saying about how everybody's gonna have like your life is going to be different than somebody else's life, and what you need for your body is different, and you need to really listen to your body.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and lacto fermentation is absolutely very important. Weston Price Always found that. And there was always some fermented foods in every traditional culture's diet.
That's
Absolutely.
something that's so missing from Western culture. It drives me insane. Like the culture that I come from, we eat a lot of pickled vegetables and everything just because of like the where I come from. Like you didn't have before like the modern age, you didn't have a way to preserve food in those climates, or you just didn't have those foods at all, like in the far north during the
Exactly,
winter.
exactly,
So fermented food, but
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
why it like I
yeah,
always
that's
say
why
like
they
my
make
body is
sauerkraut.
literally like
Yeah.
I can survive cyanide or something, and it's because I eat so many fermented foods.
Where are you from?
So
Or your
I have
background?
like an Uzbek Azerbaijani background, but also like heavily influenced by Russian culture
Oh, wow,
because of
yeah.
the Soviet Union.
Uh-huh. Oh, good borscht. Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah, you were
So,
talking about beets earlier. I was like, that's why we can drink and drink and drink beets and liver.
Actually, they have beet kvass. I think that was a drink that they had. I don't ever heard of kvass, but that's a fermented beet drink.
yeah, I heard of
Kvass,
that.
kvass is basically like a bread soda. Like they make it sweet now too, but yeah, it's based on buckwheat.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. So can we open to some questions from those listeners, maybe?
Yeah, so I've been waiting, but we have one listener, Chris, who has not sent in a question yet.
Okay.
But since we don't have questions, I have one that I think we can all talk about and we can all agree on this topic. So there's always like this demonization of too much sugar, too much salt, too much fat, but like we can agree that some sugar is good, like some fat is good for you, and
Sugar is
some
good. I don't
salt is
agree with that.
very good for you. So like
I don't agree with you
It's
on
the
that.
source that's
Yes, for
important.
sure.
how
Like
much
get
is
your
good?
sugar from the fruit. Everything is there's a balance in everything, I believe, in the salt, in the sugar, in the fat. For me, the fat would be from the avocado, from the olive oil, coconut oil. These are healthy fat sources, walnuts. Salt, I do use salt. I do use good salt. It's when you get to your cardiologist and they say, okay, you have the information, we need to cut down on the salt, that these other suggestions of different shakers on your table is maybe a good idea. There's numerous things that you can do on a plant-based diet as well, with the sugar, with the salt, and with the fat, because your body needs all these things. This is true. But when you fight inflammation, these are the things that you really need to watch out for and be balanced on and make sure that you get the right source.
So what is the
That's the key
balance?
word,
What
what you
is the
just said.
moderation? Like, what's the limit? How
Yeah.
do you calculate and quantify that? I'm a broke millennial, let's say. I can't get the good salt. I can get the dollar, like, grocery store
Well, then
brand
skip the
one.
salt and
How do you
use the
quantify
lemon
that?
juice. What are your health issues like? What is your inflammation like?
Okay, there's a
Because that
saying, you can pay for your health now or subsidize it later, you choose. So it depends upon what you're spending your money on. Okay.
this is
I
true.
And I understand, I do understand, okay, more than ever. I mean, with the high inflation that we're facing today, all over the world, the prices of food is ridiculous. You go into the store now,
It's
you
so
buy.
cheaper than healthcare.
Mhm.
I agree. I agree totally. I agree totally. So you're right. Yeah, you know who the new MD is? It's your farmer. The MD does not stand for modern deity. Okay, so I don't care what they say about salt or whatever, okay?
But
Because
also the quality. If you buy a high quality product, it has so much more flavor. So maybe you
that's
pay
true.
double for the salt, but you'll only need half the amount of the salt.
That's very
So
true.
sometimes the investment is worth the little extra.
That's very true. Are you just being a devil's advocate up there over there?
No, that's literally my job. It's
That's
literally my job. So we're saying that capitalism is the devil, right? Right? Yes.
This is a whole different topic.
Okay,
yeah, I mean, you've got
I have some
All right.
specific questions if that's
Hello.
okay.
Hi, this is Chris speaking. You know, I get everything that you're saying, and there's so much like great things out there, like the cayenne and collagen and like great foods and salads and juicing and whatever. But everything you have to do that you're putting into your body is with love. You know, my grandfather he lived to 97 years old, never saw a doctor, right? And he would eat a hot dog like it was filet mignon. Okay. And don't get me wrong, he grew his vegetables, his own vegetables, and all into, you know, all this, you know, vegetables and salads and whatever. But you know, you need to use food as love too, in my opinion. And then the other question I have is, what about water? What is with water? Like, I heard that the alkaline water's good, the i- spring water's better. You know, people are putting, you know, like juicing and you like with cayenne pepper and you know, whatever you need to do. You know what I mean? And my basic question is, what about water?
That's a really good topic, and I wish I had the video that just recently saw last week. Somebody sent to me on Telegram. It's pretty horrifying because people go out and spend so much money on all these different kinds of bottled waters, the smart water and the pH water, you know, and it was and she was showing you the label, like talking about reading labels. And there was like I can't even pronounce it because I haven't memorized that, but it was like it was a, you know, it was a long name. It was a chemical that they put in these particular so-called healthy bottles of water. Uh, I think personally, I mean, I have been very fortunate to live in a place where I've had well water and I had it tested, and you know, it was a very high pH, so it was 9 point something, and whatever was ever negative, you know, the bad things in the water, it was very low. So like my water was literally like you could taste it, you could taste how good it was. And then you've got the tap water, and they put fluoride in there, and you know, fluoride is they use that to sedate the prisoners in prison. Believe it or not, that's when they started using fluoride. So it's a very interesting topic. And then I've heard, oh, distilled water is the best, which I don't know. I have a hard time with that, but maybe you know, Letitia can expound on that. It's a very good question, Chris. And
It's a very good question. Hydration is important. You have to drink your
Oh,
water.
absolutely.
But there are
I
so
think
many
that's
different concepts about the different waters, and then also the container that it comes in. What kind of plastic is it bottled
that's
in?
true.
A lot of factors, and then the water that comes out of the tap. You know, in different areas. Like when I was in Massachusetts, I thought the tap water was delicious. Down here
That's
in
true.
Florida, you can't drink the tap water. It's disgusting.
That's what they say
So
makes
I
the
think it's
potatoes in New
also
York
which
City.
region you're in. You
Yeah.
know, what's the study on the water that comes out of your tap? But then you also wash yourself in this water. So what is actually going into your skin? You know what I mean? Like if there's chemicals in the water, you're in the shower, this is going into your body too somehow. So I think it's a very, very good question. And that could be a whole different panel of conversation for sure.
Yeah, we're actually going to be covering the water issue towards the end of this year when we get into winter and kidneys and water. Yeah, we're going to go into really deep.
You know
So,
what? I did hear a very good recommendation. Dr. Martin, he comes on Facebook Live.
oh yeah, I know.
He's from Canada. I love him dearly. And, you know,
Yeah.
but he said to put a pinch of salt, Himalayan sea salt, in your water. And that helps to alkalize the water. And that
Ah,
also you get minerals and trace minerals that way.
Mhm.
as
sounds like my grandfather. He used to put salt in, like a little bit of salt in his coffee, a little bit of
I
salt
was
in
just
his
gonna say
water.
salt in the coffee too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and he lived by it. I mean, and he was
Yeah,
healthy
yeah.
until his mid-90s. So
A little bit of salty
Um,
with coffee is so amazing. Try
it
drinking
makes a
black
difference, doesn't
coffee
it?
with some like smoked Gouda cheese. That's my breakfast every day.
Oh, wow.
We were just talking about how we shouldn't use coffee for inflammation, but don't worry, I drink tea the rest of the time.
Well, it's about balance, right? 1 cup in the mornings would be okay.
Yeah, I'm just a sleepy person.
No, you guys, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
Just to
Really.
close out,
Great
I would like
conversation.
Melanie
Fine.
and Letitia to list their favorite recipes when they personally are experiencing like a big flare up of inflammation.
Oh,
Good.
I mean,
for me, it's actually when I feel not 100 myself, a nice bowl of miso soup with some
I was just
seaweed
gonna
in
say
it.
the same thing.
All right. That's
I agree
funny.
with you.
We agree on something.
We do. Oh,
It's just so soothing. It's
It
really,
is.
it's the perfect pick me upper. It's the perfect, it's my chicken soup, I always say to people.
Oh, yeah, I'll say chicken soup too, but no. But no, actually, I put some noodles in there. But that's I
Put
was
some
just thinking
tofu in
about
there.
that.
It's great.
Okay, yeah, that's funny. Actually, was it garlic miso soup? That's great for a cold too. And that's
Some
great for
fresh
when you're
grated ginger in there too, and some chili flakes. Spice it up.
if you're hot, chili's
one
very
more
hard to
thing.
take. If you're cold, then it's
True,
okay.
true.
Back on the ginger because it keeps being mentioned. So Melanie, you said that so for your green tea with you said like turmeric and ginger is good for it. And you said that ginger is a heating element, but later you recommended ginger for inflammation. So how does that reconcile, you know,
Because
like
I recommended that for a damp cold. When a
Oh.
person's cold and damp, it's an expectorant, but it warms the cold. So it works on both ways. But if you're hot, then you then use mint. Mint is better, much better.
Mhm. Okay.
And I'll give you a quick tip. How do you know? Sorry, this. I hope this doesn't sound strange, but you actually can, in Chinese medicine, they look at the tongue and the pulse. So you actually can go to the bathroom, you stick out your tongue, and if it's very red, then you have a lot of heat. If it's very pale, then you have a cold. And then there's like 50 other different ways of looking at the tongue. That's or if you have like a thick white coating, like that is like damp, a lot of dampness and inflammation. What they call like it's like sticky. So that you have to anyway. So that's one way you could look at your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
For
And one
side-
more thing, this one's more for Letitia, but Melanie, you can join in if you know. What are the like actual names of like any added sugars or other additives that you would recommend people to avoid when they're grocery
Well,
shopping?
You know, any of the chemically made sugars you should just stay away with. And there's so many names that they disguise it on the labels.
Well, what's the
Um,
popular name
if
for
you
those
don't
who don't
know,
know?
Oh, the top. What's that one? Oh God, it's neurotoxic. Oh, what is it?
Citric acid, or is that
No,
a normal one?
no.
no, not citric acid. Um,
Think of it.
it's well, anything on the label, if you don't know what it is, you should probably not be having it.
Aspartame.
Aspartame.
Aspartame, that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
that's
bad.
neurotoxic. There's another
It's,
one that's neurotoxic too.
So what is aspartame? Just very quickly.
Melanie?
Like
I
what is
used to
it?
be able to spit that out, and I'm sorry. I'm now I've been in Bazi, and I've been doing a course of Bazi in Chinese astrology. So I'd have to go to my notes for that one, aspartame. It's a highly chemical sugar.
Chemical, yeah.
So again, what is the chemical process
So-
to get to aspartame? I'm sorry, I can't tell you that off the top of my head. But speaking about sugar, is, you want natural sweeteners. So raw honey, sucanat, grade B maple syrup, agave. So, there's a lot of great coconut sugar. Actually,
Coconut
another
sugar,
sugar that I just saw,
dates,
what's it called? Monk fruit?
this date
Dates?
sugar.
Date
You
sugar.
get there's so many that you
That
get
has
now.
minerals.
Dragon fruit
has-
sugar.
Yeah.
There's so many available to us these days that we really don't need to use the fake sugars anymore. And
And I
if
know
you
yeah, they're more expensive, and I know, but go ahead.
yeah, but again, the little maple syrup that you use instead of regular sugar, it adds so much deeper flavor to your food, and it's much more enjoyable.
And minerals.
Did you
and
know that
minerals.
not all sugars are vegan either? Like the process that they use in the
That's
whitening,
true.
they
You're
use
right.
animal fat. So as a vegan, you really even need to pay attention to those things.
If maple syrup's not organic, they use formaldehyde to cause the trees to run, the sap.
Well,
Yes.
you got to be so careful even with the honey. There's so much fake honey coming in from China. There's
Yeah.
documentaries out about it, and there's way to test if your honey is actually really honey.
Or olive oil. You want,
Olive
look at
oil.
what they're doing to olive oil. They're adding canola oil to olive oil. I
Yeah,
mean, that's
yeah.
a whole other thing. Like,
Oh yeah,
I know.
look at things that have to have, because I was trying to buy pesto in the grocery store the other day. Even the expensive
My
brands,
God.
all of them had like and I don't knock sunflower oil, it's good for frying. I like sunflower oil, but all of these pestos, like what do we think of
I'll
when
agree
we
with you
think of
on that.
pesto? We think olive oil, basil, pine nuts,
Mhm.
garlic.
Right.
All of these, none
Yeah,
of them
that's
had
right.
olive oil in them anymore. Even the expensive brands, like $10 for
Yeah.
a tiny jar, canola oil.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know.
Make your own at home.
Yeah.
It's criminal. It's criminal because you think
It's
pesto from this
criminal, thank
expensive,
you.
trusted brand made in Italy to canola oil. And it's like if you've been buying it for years, like this is a brand that I used to buy for years for like a fancy dinner party that I was, trying to like honor my friend for like some sort of like achievement or something. I would always buy this brand. It always had olive oil in it, like good olive oil, and it was always good. Even that brand that I like had been buying for years, no, everything is canola oil now.
It is.
Or
It is.
even and the cheapest
Canola
one's
oil is not the
corn
best.
oil.
Which one?
Even the cheapest
Corn oil?
one's corn oil.
Oh, yeah. Forget about
Yes.
frying with that. I tried. Oh, yeah. I used to substitute all that stuff. Like instead of butter, corn oil, and yeah, you put the corn oil in. You want to fry? You go like this, and it goes. It bubbles up because of the
Well,
chemicals.
for information, we should stay away from the fryer.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. What do they call that? What's very become popular? That cooker now. It's called the air dryer.
Air fryer.
The
Air fryer.
the air fryer.
Air
She said the
fryer.
air dryer.
Air dryer. Air fryer. I don't. I haven't tried it.
No, the air fryer is genuinely very good.
It works
and
well.
you can get a pretty cheap one, like if you
The
don't
prices
have the
have come
money.
down a lot on them. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's better than a toaster oven, is better than like even a real oven, honestly. If you just
You could
want
do a lot
something-
in it.
and it's good for portioning.
But
It's not good for big families. We have 4 teenagers and the air fryer is a little bit small.
They
Mhm.
they make really big ones.
We have a
Yeah.
big one.
So
Well,
we should go
Batch
with
cooking, batch cooking.
closing
I think-
thesis statements. Mine is that capitalism is the devil. Karen? Or Karen should go last. Let's go with Letitia first.
Focus on fiber, eat more plants.
Melanie.
Uh-oh. Eat butter and lots of it. Eat fat and protein. Eat a lot of fat and protein, but but according to your particular needs, okay? So
Mhm.
treat the person, not the disease. That is very important, actually.
That
Well,
was
thank you. This was very informative, and I thank you both for your information. And
Thank you, Chris.
I
Thanks for sharing.
love the Chinese medicine realm of everything, by the
So do
way.
I. Oh yeah, I was Chinese in many
Thank you.
lifetimes, I think.
Okay, good. Good.
All right,
Well,
let's have
Patricia,
Karen's closing statement now.
Thank
sorry.
you. That was fine. I wanted to say that everyone was right.
Oh,
And
that's
yes,
good.